2 had its struggles, but Splatoon stands out as a bright spot in the system's lineup. The kid squids of Nintendo's bold new IP brought a new take to shooters, gaining fans worldwide, even among players who tend to avoid the competitive genre. Now, 2 years later, the Inklings are back to paint the town on the far more successful Nintendo Switch. And while the mix hasn't changed drastically, it's still fresh, addictive, and exciting. With a variety of choices in what to play, Splatoon 2 centers on Inkopolis Square, where you can access all of the game's features, including shops, online, local play, and even an arcade machine where you can play along to the soundtrack in a simple yet challenging rhythm game. The square is also populated with other players, displaying their current outfits and custom artwork. It's a fun way to explore the game's features, and you can navigate via the menu too if you prefer. While the single player does a good job of introducing you to many skills that will benefit you in multiplayer, it goes far beyond that to flesh out a number of mechanics unique to the adventure, focusing on platforming as much as shooting. The levels consistently introduce inventive new devices like shooting from rails and using grapple points, presenting more tricky and challenging platforming in later areas. Unlike the original game, Splatoon 2 single player lets you play with a full range of weapons, giving you a better feel for each. Many levels require you to use a specific weapon the first time around, but you're also encouraged to replay with new weapons and push for faster times. Boss battles are equally fun and imaginative, and while the story is still fairly light, it is a great payoff. Altogether, the story mode is longer and more varied than the original, taking about 6 to 7 hours to complete the first time. The 4-on-4 competitive multiplayer modes are all familiar from the original Splatoon, although if you didn't keep up with the DLC, you may not have played some of them before. At its core, Splatoon 2 really isn't about shooting other players. While the game does track how many people you splat in each match, kills are never the direct basis for whether you win or lose. Taking out other players can certainly hamper their efforts and keep them from accomplishing their goals as they wait to respawn, but being too focused on targeting other players can be a distraction from your objective as well. Turf War is the primary way to play, and your goal is to paint as much of the map floor as possible. As simple as it sounds, it's addictive and accessible, allowing anyone to contribute to their team's success by inking territory even if they aren't good at targeting other players. It's up to you to determine whether you want to hang back and cover areas near your base, focus on the center, or advance to the other team's side. Maps often have small spots that tend to be overlooked, and covering these can make the difference as matches are at times determined by just a few percentage points. Turf War is the only option when you start, but once you hit level 10, you'll gain access to ranked battles, which include 3 more modes, which are considerably more frantic and competitive. Splat Zones is like a more concentrated version of Turf War. Both teams have to focus on taking a very small section of the map and hold it for a set amount of time. Tower Control has you riding a moving tower to a goal on the enemy side. And finally, Rainmaker places a powerful weapon at the center of the map and tasks you with retrieving it and carrying it to a platform near your opponent's base. Fights to hang on to the Rainmaker are fierce, and there can be a lot of back and forth, but if you manage to be the one to plant it on the platform, it can be incredibly satisfying. Success in each of these modes is much more dependent on how fast you can get into the fray, how well you work as a team, and how long you can survive. Once you've done well enough in any of these modes to raise your rank to at least B-, you'll also gain access to League Battle. This includes the same events, but requires you to group up more intentionally in teams of 2 or 4, ranking how well you do not individually, but as a team. There are only 8 maps, with some revisiting layouts from the first game, but getting to know all the nooks and crannies can still take some time. Plus, elements like sponges and ink rails that were only in the single player before now appear in multiplayer maps as well. The weapon variety also helps keep the maps from feeling stale. There's a strong number of weapon classes with significant variations between individual weapons. Standard splatter shots are good all-purpose weapons, and the new Splat dualies are also great go-to options, as they allow you to dodge roll to avoid damage and get the jump on enemies. Rollers lay wide spreads of paint and can smash enemies within their limited range. Chargers and Splatlings leave you vulnerable while charging, but can lay down long lines of ink and quickly eliminate foes when they connect. Bucket-like sloshers can be devastating once you learn how to master their arcs, and brushes can likewise spread ink quickly, as well as fend off enemies in close range. Since you unlock new weapons every time you level up, it can be very easy to get into an addictive progression loop, leveling up, trying new weapons, leveling up again, and so on. Weapons aren't sold alone, but only come in sets that include sub-weapons and specials. These extra tools can be just as much of a factor as the main weapon when choosing what to take into battle. Auto bombs that seek out enemies in range are a great complement to the Octobrush in Tower Control, while putting down beacons near objectives can help keep your team together in Splat Zones and Rainmaker. Specials are way more satisfying than the first game, including jetpacks, missile launchers, and the Baller, which essentially puts you in a hamster ball to roll down a path of ink before picking a place to explode. In addition to weapons, the clothes you wear also make a difference. Each piece of gear comes with a main ability that you can see when buying in the store, as well as sub-abilities that unlock randomly as you level up that item. These can range from simply reducing the amount of ink your weapons use to increasing movement speed. There are also more rare abilities like Haunt, which highlights the enemy that last killed you and lets you see them through walls. While the extra abilities you gain are largely a result of luck, you can increase your chances of getting a specific ability by earning tickets for drinks from the truck parked in the plaza, which also sells food offering limited boosts to cash and XP. Meanwhile, if you're not happy with what you've got, a vendor named Merch can wipe an outfit's current abilities clean. Eventually, he can also sell you specific abilities, although the process takes a significant investment of time and cash. All new to Splatoon 2 is the co-op Salmon Run, which is presented as a job contract for Grisco Industries, who have you working in unsafe conditions to collect salmon eggs. You play in groups of 4, fending off hordes of deformed salmonids, defeating bosses to collect eggs, and depositing those eggs in a bucket. You have to meet a quota for each wave and survive 3 waves to get a promotion. It's a particularly great take on Horde mode, not only because of the wild enemy designs, but due to the fact that each attempt is rather unpredictable. Despite there only being 2 Salmon Run maps, changing conditions like different tide levels, fog, and darkness can all make a big difference on which parts of a map you can focus on. There's no telling where your next threat will come from, and the company supplies you with random weapons, which can make things all the more difficult. It's fun, chaotic, and quickly becomes a brutal challenge as you rise through the ranks. One thing that Salmon Run highlights, though, is how Splatoon 2 often has you playing on its terms. Online, Salmon Run is only available at specific times with specific circumstances. If you want to try a different map, it might not be available until the next day, or the mode could be closed entirely for several days at a time. Regular multiplayer has similar rotations, limiting you to only 2 maps for every 2-hour period, but this is more justifiable as it minimizes wait times in lobbies. It's harder to tell why Salmon Run is on such an odd schedule. Another area where Splatoon 2 falters is how it handles playing with friends. You can easily see who's online and get in a queue to join their public lobby, but only after they've started a match. Once you do, you can't change weapons without disconnecting from that friend and restarting the process. Alternatively, you can create private games to play only with friends, allowing you to set things up how you want them, but there's no way to invite friends or communicate through voice chat directly from the game. You have to download a separate app to your phone to do so. The app does have some nice perks, such as stat tracking and ordering unique pieces of gear, but there's little sense in having such basic online features shipped off to an external device, especially since running the app in the background to check a text or email cuts off voice chat entirely. Another issue that we've encountered may have more to do with the Switch hardware than the game itself, but Splatoon 2 seems particularly sensitive to drops in wireless connectivity. We could play all day without issue, but during peak hours in the evening, we've experienced frequent disconnects. More problematic, though, is that we've had similar issues when playing over local wireless, disconnecting multiple times even though we were all in the same room. After plugging in an Ethernet cable, we've had no connection issues online, but it's unfortunate that the wireless seems to struggle in anything less than ideal conditions. Despite the wireless issues, weird schedules, and a bit of familiarity, Splatoon 2 comes out on top overall. The various modes, weapons, and gear offer a lot of strategic options to experiment with, but anyone can jump in, have fun, and feel like they're contributing. It's easy to get carried away for hours, splattering the world with ink, and we look forward to seeing how Splatoon 2 expands as Nintendo adds new elements over the coming months. Easy Allies reviews are made possible by generous viewers just like you. If you like what you see, check out patreon.com/EasyAllies to see our other videos. And consider becoming a patron to help us make more.